Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Ananda Rose. Thank you for joining me today. I have with me Sharron of Gaia. And before I tell you what we're doing today, I'm going to say welcome, Sharron.
Thank you so much, Amanda Rose.
Thank you for being here and thank you for giving us your time and your wisdom. That's the part I think I really love is that you're sharing your wisdom and you do it so freely and so generously. So I really appreciate you. And the universe claps every time you do that because God is so excited. Source energy is saying, this is it. This is it.
Well, it is the time for all of us to be, or each of us to be, sharing our wisdom. This is what we're coming into now.
Yes, this is
That
true.
higher wisdom.
Yes, indeed. So, everybody, last time we were together, we talked about the divine masculine. And in that episode or that part, we talked about the divine masculine, the awakening of the divine masculine, and what exactly that was in terms of people, who was affected, and how it looks. But this time, we're talking about the divine counterparts with regards to this divine masculine. Now, we're going to talk about some experiences. I have my experience already about my divine counterpart that I've been experiencing for the last 3 years. And Sharron, you will probably tell us some of yours because of some of your experiences, not necessarily personally, but what you're finding with some work that you're doing. So, but what we would like to start off here with was a part that we missed out in that episode. This is what you said to me. There was one aspect. Was it balance that you had written down?
I think so, yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, it is that each of us needs to come through a process that leads us into coming into balance at a higher level. So it's as though we have healing to do, so things that arise that we need to heal, and then we come into our own internal balance as the masculine aspect and the feminine aspect of self. And so we do that through, I guess, the whole process of awakening and of aligning and of attending to the things that arise. And the feminine does that over quite a long period of time. As that's the role, I believe, of the divine feminine is to be attending to those things, often familial healing or generational healing, or it could be also healing around cultural aspects or geographical aspects. But that's what the divine feminine has been doing over time as they have come across that work, I guess. And
Okay.
now the feminine is or has arisen or has begun to arise to the higher realms, to be opening up to these new and higher ways of operating. And we're in this, I want to say, like continual finding the balance as we navigate that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say that, I think, gosh, I've taken so long to wake up and to transform, and I've done so much work, and the more work keeps coming up. Are they going to
Yeah.
have to go through that and over a long period of time? Because I'm not a very patient person.
Well, I think that that's part of our ego, is
Okay.
is to recognize that that's part of our ego, that I've been doing this for so long, and to be, when we can come into acceptance that it takes as long as it takes, and that I believe we're really close to the end part of that now, and that we're in the refinement, if you like. We're in the refinement of just checking in to see if there's anything else that comes up for us that we need to heal or learn or grow from, because we really are here to lead the way, for this new way of being. And we'll do that with our counterpart, many of us. But yeah, we've come, and that's been our work over a long period of time. And so it can be frustrating when we think, oh, I've been doing this for such a long time. When will it end? And I feel that's part of our learning, part of our growth, is to accept that it has been a long process. And I want to suggest that we're quite close to the end of that, because we're into this new phase now, which is really framing up the new, framing up the higher, framing up the new and higher ways of being in a higher dimensional frequency and space for new earth. The new earth is in its birthing process, and we're hand in hand with that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I agree with you, that I think it's part of the process when you think, I've done this for so long and I'm still having to do more. And I said that because I really wanted to express what maybe some of our viewers might be thinking about it, because then it prompts the answer that you have given to us. I have got to a stage of, I'm just accepting that this is it. And if there's something more I have to learn, then I'm going to learn it. If there's more waiting, so to speak of, because not really waiting, is it? Because who am I waiting for?
Waiting's such a disempowering word, isn't
it? Exactly. But like, who am I waiting for, really? Myself, because I'm the one evolving, right? Yes. And so I think at the end of the day, for me personally, now, in all truthness of it, I am just going the flow of it, because, well, I had that phase of, I'm so sick of it and all of that, because I'm supposed to be that. I was really part of the third dimension most of my life. Adult life and growing up was part of the third dimension. So I'm going to take a while to adjust to this new thing. And so I'm happy, like, even that more shadows came up, because I'm so glad to be working on them, and let's go with it. Let it go, that kind of thing. So yeah, I like your answer. I really think that it's it's food for thought, as they say, because when we're going through things, we sometimes and we can't see the end or the light at the end of the tunnel, then it might feel like that. Yeah.
Yes. And then when we meet our divine masculine, that raises other issues. It raises other things that need to be healed. It raises energetics or pains or stories or memories that are stored deeply in the cells, I want to say. And
absolutely,
they just get catalyzed, and it's like, oh, okay, there's more to be attended to here.
Yeah. So let's talk about, have we said everything we need to say about the balance and about them having to go through their processes so that they can come into the state of awakening? Is there anything more we need to say about that before we go to that aspect of divine counterpart?
Well, the one thing I do want to say is that how Gaia has framed it is, and how I receive it is, that I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed to have been given this role, this privilege to be here, and to be here in coming up anyway, loving connection with my divine masculine, and to be able to lay in new tracks for humanity, because that's what we'll do together. Each of us, not just me and my divine masculine, but each of us, we are kind of destroying or breaking down or dissolving all of the old paradigms and patterns that don't serve humanity in the higher realms, and then we are rebuilding the new.
Yes, I agree. Very, very blessed to be in that position. I find that quite fascinating, mesmerizing, that there would be this divine counterpart with me, and we have this agreement that we were going to be awakening to this time, and in this time and space, to our divine counterpartness, and that together, our energies together was going to impact the planet, the collective, because it had together, this energy is different. I mean, that's pretty fascinating. That's huge, right?
Yes, it is. It is. Well, she always said to me that when these connections come together, that they will create these ripples of love that move across the planet and change Earth.
Yes, right. Thank you. I like that you said that. Please tell us, what is a divine counterpart? What is this divine counterpart all about?
Well, I think we could say that there are two souls or two parts of one soul, and I think that creates some argument. So I think it's good to say it could be either, because I don't know that it's particularly relevant, to be honest. But maybe we are two parts of one soul, but we certainly have some origin of soul together at the same time. And that in this lifetime, there are more of those who have come to be on the earth at the same time. And in other lifetimes, there have been lots of times when one of us has come and the other has held space. But in this lifetime, many of us have come together to assist this up leveling of the planet, of humanity, for Earth to return really to her rightful place, her rightful glory, this incredible place that will be the jewel in the universe, and the jewel in the galaxy, and that many people many beings from around the universe will come to visit. That's the place that we're moving to.
Awesome.
I don't know if that answered it or not.
You did, but I'm going to ask more questions about this. I'm going to ask more questions about this because you have some of the things you and I have spoken of off record has been as very relative to an experience I've had. And then you were talking about two of your friends that had these experiences, which then sparked it that you would go and tune into Gaia and ask more questions about it and get these downloads. And so we talk about divine counterparts. Many people will say twin flame because over the years that I've had this channel, I've been very curious about twin flame, and I've got people to come and talk about twin flame. And whilst I know some things about twin flame, I know that what I know is that it can be very difficult. Some twin flames just never come together. That is one soul split into two, one being the divine feminine, one being the divine masculine, is what I understand. What we're saying here, though, is that this has happened, and there are many that type of souls that have come to earth in this time, and they will come back together because I've heard it before too, that the twin flames this time are going to be getting back together. They'll actually come together. They're both born on us, or will come one's here and the other one will turn up, and I don't know how, but walk in, whatever. Yeah. And they will come together in this lifetime. In this transformation, the twin flames come together, is what I've heard. Now,
Absolutely.
I feel like twin flames is such a boring term because everybody's got everything to say about it. But here we are calling them divine counterparts. And I think I like divine counterparts better because it takes away all the connotations of twin flame and the confusion of twin flame, because people believe they have difficult relationships with their twin flame. And
there's a lot of story, isn't there?
A lot of stories. And I tell you what, my divine counterpart, actually, I feel like I could have so much peace with my divine counterpart that it frightens me. I might be the one to cause the drama because I know me, So I guess what I'm asking is, can you explain in ordinary terms the experiences of somebody who might be meeting their divine counterpart, or the experiences people say they're having, and then you realize, oh my gosh, that's a divine counterpart?
Well, I think that the love is extraordinary. The acceptance, I would say that there's this incredible acceptance of the other. And there's a lot of telepathy that goes on. There's a lot of vivid dreaming that goes on. There's a lot of, well, for me, I feel like he is often here energetically. There's easy, long, lofty conversation.
Mm.
And there's deep feelings.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. I just kind of like when you were saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just know it all when it comes to this. Because I know for me, it happened to me when I least expected that I would actually have any sort of interest in somebody, because I'm pretty much I like being on my own. I've been on my own for a long time, and a lot of people don't understand why. And I just feel I'm okay. I just don't need to have anybody else in my world. I'm unless something actually shifts me, and I feel like I'm supposed to be with that person, then perhaps. But until source energy, my higher self, my team of light gives me a green light about something. Because if I'm feeling a connection, then it has to be that they know about it. And
Right.
I'm not just like someone said to me about, oh, someone talked about picking, like a friend of mine said to me, not picking up, and said to me, but Rose, you're too young to be on your own, and you should be with somebody for all the benefits of the intimacy. And I had to say I'm very careful about who I allow into my energetic field, even in the intimate space, because sometimes people say you're a human being and you have needs and you should have those needs met with. But I'm kind of come to this thing of I'm actually just fine the way I am, because for me to allow somebody into my space in that way means they're in my energetic space. And what does that person bring into my energetic space? And until I actually feel some strong attraction, then I don't even go, I don't even think about that. And so here I was working with this person, and then I was suddenly like working. We had a lockdown of 2021. We were doing audit, and we were working with the auditor and different directors and all of that. And he was one of the directors, but he was the operations director who I work with directly all the time. We're having these meetings, and then I started having these things where he'd be talking to me at night, but he won't be talking to me about work. He'd be talking to me about everything else. And I would think, what the heck's going on with this guy? Why do I keep dreaming about him?
Yes.
I kept dreaming about him, and I thought, has somebody voodooed me or something? Like, because I don't even find him attractive, and I don't usually have that kind of relationship with any boss of mine. I'll say boss, of mine. But I had this thing of, I took the role of the previous bookkeeper who kept him out of the loop, yet he was the operations director. And normally, when somebody has a KPI, you have to let them know, you have to let them in on the finances. And after all, it's the operations director. But so I guess he had a little bit of resistance to that. But when he realized I don't work like that, I usually give people the rightful roles they're meant to have as the accounting person. I give them the rightful access they're supposed to have to the accounts. And I did some teaching and all of that. But we spent a lot of time, in Zoom meetings and things like that. I used to just be talking to me all the time. And I thought I was going crazy. And this thing about being in my energy space, I have to say, I've had to work really hard to keep him out of my energy field, because I feel like that's because I don't understand it. Because he's there when I don't even, I can't even, like, I won't even think about it, but he's like there. And I'm thinking, why am I doing the dinner and you're here? Stop being in my space. Stop it. So it's almost like at one point I thought, what, did somebody voodoo me or something? You know how you can voodoo somebody if you don't like them to like get obsessive about something. I come from Africa, so I'll say these crazy things. But yeah, it was overwhelming, really overwhelming. And I felt some passion for somebody. The passion was so strong.
Yes.
It's overwhelming. So, and I thought, oh my gosh.
It can be overwhelming, can't it?
Yeah. Yep.
That level of passion, the level of energetic intimacy as well.
Yeah. And I mean, this was a colleague. For me, this was somebody I work with. I had no, I had no intentions with. And then I realized after like 3 months of working with him, I went down to the Waikato. And years ago, I used to travel around New Zealand for work. And I used to, when I went down to work, maybe King Country, I would sometimes end up on the Gordonton Road, the backside of Hamilton, and I would pass Narawaya and I would go that way. And I used to have these visions of this woman being beaten up with a child there and the husband lying dead not far away. So these people had come in there. And then I started to, it was so profound, it was so troubling that I think, do I need to call the police? Is there something happening here that I need to report in? It was that crazy. And I went to the King Country a lot. So I had a lot of this vision kept repeating itself. And so, and then I had a thing where after I met my divine counterpart, 3 months later or something, we went to the Waikato to something. And as I was driving there, I realized, oh my gosh, that was him.
Right.
The woman was me. The child is the child he has in this lifetime. And from then on, I started to do all the clearings on my own for that lifetime, for that child, for those souls. Good. And that's what I did. And I had to deal with a lot of the trauma of this woman who felt abandoned by a husband. And all the story was is they were a farming family. He had trusted the wrong people who then had murdered him and then had me in captivity with our child and kept doing crazy things to me. And every time the child would cry, I would go to it and they would beat me up and beat up the child. And it was terrible, terrible, horrible experience. But I cleared all
traumatizing.
Very traumatizing. And so I had to clear it in this lifetime. And so I have done that over the last 3 years. I have done all the clearings. And there's so much more I can tell you about this. We will have to have a lot more time to talk about it, and we don't. But that was my experience. Now, I think part of it is that this lifetime, for me, I'm not returning to Earth. And so I needed to clean out the whatever's in the past that needed to be cleaned out, the karma. But that I have such strong feelings, attraction, such telepathy with this person. I've had moments when sometimes something's going horribly wrong. And the next thing I know is I need to call him because he will make me feel better. Yet I have not had a relationship with this man. Official relationship, I haven't had that. And so were your friends talking about something like this when they were telling you about, you mentioned some friends, were they talking about something similar?
Yeah, they had come across someone and they believed that they were their twin flame. Yeah, and so different situations.
No, I don't expect you to tell me what they said, but
no,
just
and
saying,
I won't. But they both had different situations, but they both used that terminology, and it was new terminology to me.
Divine counterpart, you mean, was new terminology?
Twin flame.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
And so that was my prompting to speak to Gaia about it, because my human self went to, that all sounds very fantasial, even though I believed them. But that was what my human self went to. And then when I heard it from two of my friends, I thought I need to ask some questions about that. So when I asked Gaia, she told me about one of the aspects of it is that there are like 12 aspects, and so there's a lot of work that goes on in our world with 12 aspects, and then when the 12 aspects are completed, that makes the whole of it makes the 13th. And so there are 12 aspects of divine counterpart polarities.
Okay.
And I don't know. I haven't even asked what they are, but essentially that also comes to the 144.
Yes.
So each circle is 12 counterparts,
Yes. Yes.
and they are related to religion and ethnicity and geography and culture and language and history, and it's about each pair is collapsing the polarities that are old paradigm. They're the programs that we've had, that we've carried through our genealogy, that we've carried through our DNA. And so this is the role of divine counterparts in this time, is to collapse those polarities, to come together with these opposing or seemingly disparate positions, and to come together and to collapse all that held it separate, so that it really becomes love leads the way.
Union, a union.
Yes.
Yes. So,
And then those ripples of love that
yeah.
roll out across the planet and other, or one of the catalyzing factors for ascension into the fifth dimension.
Wow. So it feels like we've been doing some work. We've been doing the work that we need to do, the divine feminine, and now it's time for that other part of us to unite. And we are now unite in unity. In that unity consciousness, we're going to be more empowered, more effective than we've been before, because this is the time for it.
Yes, and when we come together with our divine counterpart, it's the word that Gaia uses is exponential. It makes an exponential difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for our audience, I want to say the reason I talked about my experience is that this conversation is about making people aware, right? And when I talked about my experience, it's because you out there will know whether you can identify with this. Because for me, I found the whole thing really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And Sharron, you're the first person that I've met that has actually kind of answered my, well, not kind of, definitely answered my question, and have told me it's okay to be me, and okay that I went through that experience, because I'm meant to go through that experience, because this is also part of my transformation awakening process.
Yes.
You
Good.
know,
I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased that that spoke to you. And I know for me, it's been like bits and pieces that have come through over time, through experience, through dreams, through visions, through ongoing messages from Gaia about, she often gives me something about the energies, and then she tells me something about what's going on for the divine masculine, or for divine counterparts, or for the feminine, and that's this ongoing development, because this is part of the creation of our new and higher way of being.
yes, and like when I had this experience, I thought I was going mad, because I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
I thought, what's wrong with you? Like, what? Because it felt really vulnerable. I felt vulnerable. It felt like I'm old fashioned, and that if there's an attraction between me and someone, I would prefer the man to be the one to approach it, rather than me approach it with him. And it was really weird, because he kept saying things. He said to me a couple of times, he just told me how he does relationships in suddenly out of the blue in a meeting. He said that to me, and I thought, what's wrong with you? Like, and I was kind of confused about that. Like, why did that come out? Because what's written on my forehead that says I need to know how you do relationships? And so, being Rose, I thought I need to address this, you know. And so the next time I saw him, I said, so, hey, why did you, I related whatever he'd said. And I said, why did you tell me about how you do relationship, like out of the blue? Why do I care about that? I actually don't want to know about it. It's not my business. Like, is there something that says on here that I want to know? Because until you can see that, and I know it's there, don't tell me because I'm not interested. I've never worked with a director who would be telling me how he does relationships in the middle of a meeting suddenly when, we're talking about the price of eggs and suddenly you tell me how you're doing relationships. And I thought that was really weird. And he said, I do this. This is how I've had relationships with the previous accountant that I worked with in another company. I said, well, I'm not that person. Don't tell me. This this is me. This is what I would be saying. And so I just thought, oh, this is so weird, because I was concerned that I might have done or said something to this person that made them think they needed to tell me how they do relationship to discourage me from wanting a relationship with them. But I'd done nothing. I'd said nothing because I didn't, at that time, I wasn't even aware of it. And from that time, it was the trigger. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop dreaming about you. You're talking to me all the time. I was like, what the heck's going on here?
Yes, so isn't that a perfect example of how something can be, well, I want to call it the evocateur.
Oh, Mel, we're reflecting ourselves to ourselves or something. That reflection. And I thought, because I was like really wondering, what did I do or say that this person decided to tell me how they do relationship?
Yeah.
Like, because I did nothing. We were only talking business. So, but it made me feel really disconcerted. And I have tried for all this time to just work my way through it and to think less of the person, not lesser of the person, but to think, yes. Not to think so much.
Less of them, yes.
Less of them. And to also, like I've held circle. I've had my dragons work with me. I've had my archangels work with me, because sometimes it was that bad that I felt like I'm going to lose my mind. And so here I am. I hope that what we do today for everybody, if you're going through something like this, that you start to be easy with yourself and start to say it's part of your process, because I think that's what this is.
Yes, and to be in dialogue with yourself.
Yes.
What is this about? What do I need to do? Where am I feeling that? Because we're in the undoing, or we're in the last bits of the undoing.
Yes.
So that we can reveal the truth that sits within us, the truth that is around us, the truth that's been hidden in our inner world of self, in the inner world of Earth, in the outer galaxies of this whole constellation. It's the micro and the macro, and we can, I think it's well, to me anyway, it feels relatively clear that that's the experience that we're having on many, many levels.
Yes. So I want to say something about this. Because you talked about speaking to your divine masculine earlier, and in the first part of this topic.
Yes.
And when that happened to me, that the divine masculine was approaching me, the higher self, his higher self, the divine masculine was approaching me and calling to me, I was like, what the heck's going on here? Because this is not something that I didn't know that I could be talking to the higher self of somebody else. I understood you needed to have very, very special permission to do something like that. You just don't go into someone's energetic field and do whatever, right? But yes. It was calling to me. It was speaking to me. I could see it. It gave me his name from our previous life together, the traumatic life that ended and whatever. And it's pretty awesome, actually. It's a pretty awesome divine masculine, and said to me, I am his, how he explained it to me was, his higher self is my God, is also one of my team of light that's looking after me.
Right.
And I was thinking, what a crazy concept is that? I've never heard of it before. But
makes sense.
It makes sense, right? It makes absolute sense. I've got my journal notes that I've been taking over the last 3 years with this experience that talk to it. I haven't been able to find all of them, but I mean, obviously that's personal to me. But I was going back to read it and to just see what I put down. And at one point I just thought, no, but you shouldn't be with me. You need to go back to your person. And I just had circle. We talked a lot. I wrote notes down in my journal about it. And I said, now you have to go back because your person needs you. But that was in my ignorance. You just come to make me like aware, like awaken me to all of that. So it's really awesome.
Well, I think that we're at the stage, and let's say we're at the beginning stages, where the electromagnetics of these divine counterparts are going to be pulling one another together.
Okay. Sharron, you've heard so much about my experience. Please tell me anything else you want to tell me about your experience. You don't have to give us details or anything like that if you're experiencing that. And now that we're talking about this, what do you, so there's that one question, but then the other part I would like to ask is what do you think the steps are for our next steps are now that we are awakening to this, now that you are the messenger of this?
Oh, there's a lot. Well, I feel that it's about being genuine, authentic, and aligned. So each of us needs to do that. In order to do that, we need to do any healing that is required individually. And then I'm not sure what the next step is, because it feels like it is evolving, that it is like just taking the next step. It's about giving it space to land. It's about recognizing that each of us is playing a different part, and that each pair or couple is also playing a different role, and that together, all of these souls together are creating the new harmonics, the new frequencies, the new paradigms, the new guidelines, the new ways of operating for our new earth. So we can see that that's quite close, and that it feeds into that very much in terms of these, I want to call them exquisite, expansive connections and relationships.
Okay. So, are all star seeds and light beings having a divine counterpart experience in this lifetime, do you think?
No, I don't believe that is the case. I don't know what the percentage is, except that, well, there are some sort of percentages. So it might be 10%, or it might not. But about a third of our population is going to be on their exit point now. So we are going to see a lot of souls who've completed their contracts for being here. So it isn't a punishment, it's a completion. So about a third of the human population will exit because they've completed their contract. So they will return to their home planet, or go to wherever their next sort of assignment is. And then I guess the rest of us have an ascension experience that rolls us into our new planet, where we'll, formulate the new. And it's likely that divine counterparts will lead various aspects of that. I want to say that part.
Okay.
That each will have developed the nuances of a particular segment or aspect, and that they will become teachers of that. That's what I kind of see happening next. Well, after they come together.
Wow. Okay. It's very interesting. Because I just like if I think about my divine counterpart, and you're probably going to agree with me if you have one, is like I know one of the things I suddenly started to hear were my words that I say about people. coming out, like, and then I started to see how I love and care for people, the very same expressions from him. And always standing in front to speak for the people that need that, always standing in front, always wanting to make peace, always being there to say, okay, you know, how can we do this better, sort of thing, you know. And so I see now, like when you're saying that, I'm just seeing, and you probably can see also for yourself or even for your friends' situations, how the divine counterpart is fitting in already. It makes sense when we talk about the fifth dimensional earth, you know, leading us into the fifth. We are going to be divine, our divine counterparts and us, we're moving into that fifth dimension. Speaking of about contracts that are ending here for people, there's a lot of people leaving the planet, as we know.
Yes.
And sometimes it's pretty tough to lose people. We call it losing people, but they're moving to another, but all they're doing is going from this dimension into another one. They're going into another dimension, really. They're still,
and some of them I'm showing some of them are going to have a really quick turnaround.
I'm not going to be surprised at all about that. Yeah. So some of them are also like very obviously going on to be ascended masters. And like on some level, I've seen this happen with a friend of mine who left last year quite suddenly. On some level, even though the people around him were unaware of that concept of he could go on to be an ascended master, instead of going on to heaven and standing there and singing with all the angels, they know that he has gone on to be an ascended master, even though that was not the concept they believed in before he passed on. So even death, we will start to feel differently about death. And I think also there's so many deaths because people start to become, and I know they use the word numb to death. I think what we're going to become is wise to what death is, not numb to death. And if we're no longer grieving death like we used to grieve, doesn't mean we're numb. It means that perhaps we know something different.
Well, I think that's what Christianity did, in my view, is that Christianity celebrated the crucifixion or paid tribute to or honored the time of the crucifixion and totally forgot about the resurrection. And to me, the resurrection is the key point. To me, that was the key example, is that we can resurrect,
we rise again,
return, we can arise again. And so it is my feeling that there will be many souls who have decided to close their contract off in earth now, and then they will return as a soul in a new form to celebrate our new and higher dimensional.
So they're coming back that way into the fifth dimension, not the way of transforming physically, going from, like, we can see the actual physical transformation, going to Terra from Gaia, going to, or from Earth going to Terra. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not sure about all of the ins and outs of the various names. I don't get to. I mean, Gaia just that's how she introduced herself to me.
Oh, yeah. I'm not like bent on the names either, but my understanding is that Gaia is the higher aspect of Earth.
Yes, my understanding is that she's the seventh dimensional aspect,
and Terra is referring to the fifth dimensional Earth, is the way I understand it. And from what I've learned is all the planets have a higher aspect.
Right.
And so I've been reading this book about the dragons by Dinah Cooper, and she talks about the higher aspects of the planet. And quite often I will work with the higher aspects of a planet if I'm doing some energy work or if I'm doing some tuning in. Like recently I've been tuning into Jumbe, who is the higher aspect of Jupiter.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of looking at Junbei because Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and if that's the higher, well, Junbei is the higher aspect of Jupiter, then give us that intuition to expand ourselves.
Yes.
You know,
and it's very present in our skies.
Yes, Jupiter is very present in our skies. And so Jupiter has been so present, and I know that we've got the astrology, but Jupiter is presenting itself in its present, in this absolute presence in our skies. It's presenting itself to us. How will you expand? Because it's the planet of expansion. And it's just
I believe it's 7. That's my understanding. So I don't channel the astrology, but the astrology, there are a few people who follow me who say that astrology confirms what you just said. And the astrology at the moment is that there are no planets in retrograde.
Yes, there's no planets in retrograde.
So that means that we've got all the support for moving forward, for
forward motion,
rising up, for expansion.
Yeah, and this week at the new moon, we'll have 8 celestial bodies in Aries.
Which is about action, right?
Yes, and
it's
most
the beginning
important
of the astrological year.
That's right, beginning of the zodiacal year is what they call it. And I don't know much about astrology, but my little bit that I know. But also Mars is in Aries. Mars is already in Aries. Mars is the avatar for Aries. And
that represents the divine masculine, yes?
Mars does. And Venus is doing something. I think Venus might be in Aries too, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected. But Venus is our divine feminine.
Yes.
Right.
Planet of love.
Yes, exactly. And the sun is in Aries because we're still in the Aries season. And then you're going to have the new moon in Aries, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Like how much, that's like whammy whammy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the information that I get given just aligns with that so well, and I got told that the breaks would be off. There were no breaks coming during this time.
No.
So it all fits with that.
Yeah, I think with astrology, I know there's a lot of question marks about things that we hear and all of that, but astrology, you can look at the sky and see it.
Yes.
And that's the thing, that's the thing about it. And this is why if I go back and I check, for example, Pluto in Capricorn and how it affected Aries, and from when certain things happened in my life, I can tell you Pluto was in Capricorn. That's why that and that happened. And so that's why I say the astrology speaks. You can see it in the sky, you can hear it, and you can go back and you look on for yourself personally. Okay, this is how I'm affected by it. When did that problem start? Or when did that new job start? Wow, Pluto was in Aries. Pluto was in Capricorn, for example, And at the moment,
when you look at some of the ancient scripts, they're referencing those things. Some of the Egyptian papyruses, for example.
Even Indian, sorry, go on.
No, that's you go.
So even with Indian astrology or I think it's the sidereal. I think they call it the sidereal astrology. So when Indian children are born, parents will go to the priest and give the time of birth, the date of birth, and the day of birth. And the priest then looks at the chart and then tells the parents whether it's an auspicious time, whether there's some clearing the parents have to do for this child. Okay. And will also give them a choice of names for maybe 4 names for them to choose for this child, because naming is so important. And so again, we come back to the astrology. We come back to the birth chart, and that we're all uniquely different because our birth chart makes us uniquely different.
Yeah.
So it's so fascinating, isn't it, the astrology?
Yes, it is. And that there are a number of different ways of using different forms of astrology that bring in different aspects or
that's right. Yeah. Because even though there's Western astrology, there's the sidereal astrology, which is Eastern astrology, I think. But there's
another type of astrology which I can't think of.
Is it this tropical astrology or something, Or maybe Western astrology is tropical astrology. I don't know. But there is definitely, and recently I interviewed a lady in the last 2 years, I'll say. I interviewed a lady who was talking about our Antares code. So the Antares code is held. So we have our Akashic records for Earth that's held on Earth, but we have our Akashic record of all our lives in our solar system, and that's held on the star Antares. Right, and Antares is said to be seventh dimensional, and our Akashic records, our cosmic Akashic record, or solar system Akashic record for this solar system is held on Antares. So maybe we have another Akashic record held for our cosmic.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I know that where I used to go when I was first doing this work, I believed was the ninth dimension.
Okay.
And I would go into this space that appeared before me and was, I would navigate my way through it. And that's what I was told, that was the ninth dimension. And then I've also been shown our Akashic records sitting as like a helix formation in the center of the earth that Mary Magdalene was overseeing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely different perspectives and spaces where this information has been held.
And there's no one is right over the other. I think it's just that everything is relative and relevant for when it finds us.
Yeah, I agree. And there's beauty in all of it. It's
Absolutely.
like another piece that comes in.
Yeah. Because I'm sure we'll find out, the Egyptians had another kind of astrology. Egyptian astrology, right?
Yeah.
And how could we think not, because they were the Egyptians? And
Yes,
anyway,
yes.
but probably us anyway, because we would have been in Egyptian times. We would have lived lifetimes there too. Sharron, I know we moved away from talking about that divine counterpart, but it's all relative and relevant, is what I think.
It is. It is. And all of these, it is as though all of the pieces are going to start dropping in for all of us. And this is, this divine counterpart connection, which is highly pertinent to the renewal and the rebirth of our new earth, is one part of it.
What would you say to people watching and having had some of the experience I might have described, or some of your explanation identified with some of what you were saying? What would you say to them? I know we say we don't really know exactly what the steps forward are, but what would you say to them at this point? Like if they experience something like we were talking about today, what would you say would be good advice to people?
To connect to self.
That was going to be what I was going to say.
To perhaps place your hand on your heart and to just invite yourself to dive in there, sit into that space, sit in your own heart space, close your eyes and just come into the feeling of that. And that when you're in the feeling of that, just invite that feeling to expand. And to fall in love with yourself. You know that love starts with that. And that love is really the answer to all questions. But we are navigating our way home to self. And we are each doing that in different ways with different formats. And we are learning to be okay with that. We're learning to, some of the constructs that Gaia has spoken about is that we need to learn to give up the need to be right. We need to learn to give up the need to know. And we need to, right now we are connecting to our own heart and rebirthing our higher self through the stargate of our own heart to come into higher consciousness and our new and higher dimensional existence.
Wow, I love that. The stargate of our own hearts. that I have a Stargate here. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. That was just perfect. And I would say the same thing too. Go back to self. And even when things feel overwhelming, let's face it, we cannot be in a situation like that if we haven't done work to be in a situation like that. And when I say work, I mean work on self. It means all the work we've been doing, the meditations, the holding space, all of that. We are evolving and evolving and evolving, so much so that we suddenly recognize our twin flame when, or our divine counterpart, when ordinarily third dimensional us would have had to be guessing.
Yes, yes. And to remember to ground, to remember to connect into the earth, because that helps us to be grounding these higher frequencies.
Exactly.
Part of our role as light workers is to be the conduit of that, but to be grounded, that's how we manage the energies.
Definitely.
So they don't get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. And always try, one of the few things that I've learned through my experience is this: trust yourself. Most importantly, trust yourself. And even if you think you're going crazy, you know that you're not. Heart of hearts. And if you have something suddenly come up, like the person's higher self is talking to you and you recognize it, know that you can only have that kind of experience because you've done the work to advance in your journey at this time. That's something. I think that is something. Say that again, Sharona.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the space that we are all coming to.
Yeah.
To be able to be in connection with the higher aspects of self.
Yeah.
The higher aspects of the divine.
Yeah. And I think approach it not from the third dimensional way of approaching it. Because remember, we're no longer those people we were when we were like 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you are unless you are 27. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the point is that all those things that used to appeal to us in the third dimensional space, now that we've evolved and we're doing this transformation process, we're not those people anymore. Be open-minded that the future and any relationship in terms of this divine counterpart is going to be different from anything you've ever had before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Incredible and spectacular.
Yes, exactly. And we've been beaten down with our third dimension, in the third dimension, about relationships that we just shut the door on it. We've had some traumatic experiences, or we think I can't be bothered with that. But we're now being asked to take a chance again, because this time we're different. We are different.
And it's why we came, to lead the way in something new and higher and more loving and more beautiful. Yeah.
You've done the work to be where you are. If understand that. And this is source energy saying you are entrusted with this part. That's it. Sharron, anything else you want to say before we say goodbye? And is there anything I missed asking you about that you want to share with our audience?
Well, right now I can't think of anything to say, but so much love.
So much love, the universal theme. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Sharron of Gaia, for sharing your wisdom. This has been an incredibly different conversation, but thank you for this, because it's a breaking point. It's breaking through to something different in our awakening process. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Sharron. Namaste. Catch you next time. Bye.